So, ladies and gentlemen, sorry for the missing of the start time here, but we were a little bit engaged before here. So hopefully you that is on Zoom have been able to have some coffee and some refreshment and feeling fine. I got the thumbs up from Georgie, so I just continue now. Yeah. But I think we are online now and we are moving on here with the EFMI session. Thank you very much for the opportunity for the European Federation of Medical Informatics to be a part of Digital Health Day again. We have been here for a couple of times. This is my first time I'm actually here in reality. So it has been very interesting. We have also tried today to make this with panel questions coming up at the end of the presentation, where we hopefully will have a little good discussion. We have also plenty of time to discuss with you guys that is in the room. So if you have any concerns or remarks or thoughts, just raise your hand and we will have a microphone to your mouth and we can have a good question. Today's session from EFMI is about enhancing medical outcomes, the role of AI in decision support for healthcare professionals. And then I put a little bit power on the word healthcare professionals, because as a lot of you are part of the machine learning course here in the university, and we have had a lot of talks now from different parts, from the patient view, from business views and from the research view. But I think the biggest group that we need to work with from now on is actually the healthcare professionals and how they should be able to make decisions about this. To my help to this presentation, I have Lenka Lotska, that is from Prague. And we love to work together because we have the same monogram, so we can use the same shirts, as I used to say. And I also used to say, how hard can it be to make a decision? And think about that, how many decisions we as a human take every second, every day, every hour of the day, we make decisions. So why is it so difficult now when we ask to have decision support to actually make decisions? Is this something we just put in our brains, or is it something that we haven't really looked into? That's one of my challenges. What I've been thinking a lot of during my last years in healthcare here is that I've been to so many institutions and clinics and hospitals, and I've asked them the same questions. Do you have AI? And they say, yes. And I ask them, do you use it? No. So there seems to be a gap between there. All of us in healthcare are aware of the possibilities with artificial intelligence, but we really don't know how to handle it, how to get it into our processes. And this is also an interesting topic we will have in our panel, but I used to say it's a little bit of a challenge and friction now between healthcare and IT. Because, you know, IT, they like to have structured things. They like to have A, B, C, D. And we healthcare professionals that works with individuals, that works with you, and we know you, and we care about you, and we meet you, and we say, let's do a little bit of A today, and a little bit of C, and the rest we don't care about this time. And then the IT people screams to us, can't you follow the simplest instructions on how to follow a path or a process? And we like, oh, we hate you. You are too structured for us. So that's one of the things also. I will guide you around the topic a little bit with some some real thoughts and some of my own thoughts around this. I have asked some reflection from Lenka also to give us, and we will end this session with the panel later on. I don't show this YouTube clip now because we doesn't have time, but I guess you will have the images so you can listen to this guy later on. As we understand, it's a lot of tools that is coming out now. And the thing with tools is they can be used to so many things. Think about it, what you are using. If you're using a hammer, you can use it for different purposes and so on. But it was designed to do one purpose, and we find other ways of it. One of the best things I used to say when it comes to tools is the mobile phone, where you in the room has lived with it. We in the panel, some of us has lived without them, and now we can't be without them. But they were there for actually to talk in the phone, and that's probably what we do less today in those tools. And that's also something that is interesting, that things merge together. Things are giving us more support from a smaller part of the world. So we have been listening to some really interesting talks today about how to integrate those things into clinical decision support systems. And when you start to think about what is clinical decision support systems, it's in a way just a way of using knowledge. We have institutions that train our nurses and doctors to how to understand what is happening and so on. And now it's something else coming from the outside that will support us even more. So just for the fun of the abbreviation, I like to make fun of words, is that I think that artificial intelligence stands for, in healthcare, for additional information, AI. It's another source of information that we need to think about. And there is also a problem that the information in this case is based from data points. And a misunderstanding from us in healthcare is often that we say that information is equal to data points. So therefore we are so afraid to share the data points. But the data points by themselves doesn't really have a meaning until we have put them in a place where they can make some meaning for us. And this is something I think we all need to understand. And for an example there, I used to say, should we need to have MDA regulation on Excel in the future? Because we put in length and weight to calculate the BMI? No, we don't need that, because it's just a way of how we're handling knowledge. But when we think about this, I used to use this setting. If you meet a patient, what gives you more about the patient, his DNA sequencing or his postal code? Okay, every one of you that has looked into the genomics, as a human, you understand, I don't understand a shit about this. You really need to nail in, and you need a lot of computer power and comparisons and so on. And then you can say, well, those proteins, if they look like this, it might be something. But when we have a postal code, we immediately get an image of who is in front of us. So that's also interesting to understand how we as humans are making our decisions with a lot of factors around us that we really don't nail down, but they are a part of us. As we discussed earlier this week about culture, moral, and ethics, also how they influence on this. I'm from diagnostic imaging. I love black and white images. I think the progress we have seen in the healthcare thanks to imaging is just impossible to understand. The invention of the computer tomography and now the MRI is just giving us so much more information and thoughts about possibilities, what we can do with images. So this thing of multimodal that we talks about, to combine the things. And the greatest thing with radiology images is that they have a world standard. They're actually, every image created today in a radiology equipment can be shared all over the world or reused in a computer. And that's rather fantastic for radiology, so to speak. One thing I have thought about is also, should we perhaps start to talk about put the data on top of the algorithm, or the other way around, put the algorithm on top of your data? Saying that is, I'm thinking that, would it be a good word if every data point that is created should be used in an algorithm for just knowing? Because I think if we could do in that way, because today, if you start to think about it, using AI means that as clinicians, as a medical doctor or nurse, you have to do something. You have to say, let's run an algorithm through this. And you have a manager saying, be careful, it costs every time you use it. Okay, so therefore I was thinking of, think about the word that everything is just prepared for you, as we do with an image. An image is just a reflection of what's in there. And then we immediately, when we look at it, we can adjust the levels on it to see different parts of it and so on. And we look at the purpose of what we are doing this examination for. So that's an interesting thought also. Then I think the thing we all have talked about, we saw this wonderful presentation of pathology from Hungary and so on. And here we have the good things with the protocols, and perhaps with the treatment protocols, that it's more easy for a computer to go through things, how they should be done, than it's for us humans to read. I had a physician once that said to me, you know, Lars, to read in a journal is like to have a booklet that you have to find the pages and put them in the right spot. Now, page number 1, number 2, number 3, and number 4. So it takes an enormous amount of time. And unfortunately today, we find that we don't have time for reflections anymore. As humans, I think we are going to not thinking anymore. And it's really dangerous, actually, because I mean, I don't know what I should do during the day until I open my mobile phone and look at my calendar. Okay, as we discussed, Georgie, he drives without a GPS. Can you imagine that? That's only in Pfarrkirchen, yeah. But those are things I feel is quite interesting to see how things are getting embodied, that it's actually a part of your way of living. And therefore, I think that AI also needs to be embodied, that we have to be very strict and clear. What is the purpose of this algorithm? What is the purpose of this model? What is the word that this model is actually showing? I've been in a lot of debate, and we had during the training, you remember, we talked about skin, when we take photos of the skin, and then it became biased because we didn't have enough material for dark skins and so on. And I used to say, couldn't a simple solution be that we just put it on, saying not to be used on dark skins? Because it works on white skins, and that's good. And then we have to work out another application for dark skins. So I don't think we will have so many general algorithms that will solve everything. I think it's still, as we discussed and we have shown from a lot of lecturers, everything needs to be localized. Everything needs to be really functioning where it is there. And it needs to be governed to followed up and so on. So when it comes to those protocols, I have stated, who am I, my data or my narrative? Will in the future be you come to the doctor and he asks you, how do you feel? And you say, I feel much better. And I said, no, the computer says no. Okay, and so on. And I think we shouldn't forget the human relationships, the things we are and how we discuss and so on. And we, from a healthcare perspective, we think it's a mistake when somebody dies today. And I think that's a little bit dangerous. We should have the right to die also, even if we now have trends of longevity and so on. And the latest was that when your body didn't were able to be repaired anymore, we could put your brain electronically. And I was thinking, oh my God, I will never get rid of my mom. A very interesting thing that I strongly believe in is the predictive analytics for public health. I think that what is happening around now is probably an opportunity for us all to understand what is normal. Because we have been grouping things together through research and so on to say, this is a normal blood pressure, this is a normal blood sugar, and so on. And it doesn't always fit the individual. So this might be an extremely interesting thing. And therefore, I would love to start a program in Europe talking about what you as a citizen actually have to give away. Okay? And for example, it could be simple things like you have to give away your age, your weight, and your length. That could probably give us a much more information on how to do a lot of planning and thinking and so on. As I loved in Agder, they say, well, we didn't need so much to understand what was happening. So don't always think about why do I need this huge amount of data? Just think about what is the data I need. Never stop talking. When I have met students, a lot of you are students, and they used to ask me, no, Lars, how do I keep me healthy? And I say it quite easy. Stop smoking, less drinking, and never stop talking. That's an easy way to have a good life. And we problematize it sometimes to get it even more difficult. So personalized medicine is something we all know about, and we have achieved enormous success with that. We can actually give patients that didn't have a chance before a much bigger chance and so on. What I'm a little bit worried about is how we will in the future handle who will have the right to have care. That will be something that will be discussed from a political view and so on. And will we travel around the world to have our treatments because they know it there and so on. And it's many years ago, I guess you have probably seen this. We'll see if this works. No, I can't get it. Have you been in People Not Like Me? It's a website that actually creates an image of a human to general neural networks. And I was so fascinated when this came for a couple of years ago, because think about it, if we could start to use computers to give us some human relations back, because whenever you see a person, you start to think differently. Instead of just looking at statistics, then it's easy to say, well, that's such a small group, so we don't care about them. But if you see them as humans, they are there. So resource allocation. AI system can support hospital administration, optimizing scheduling, predicting patient admission rates, and manage the supply of blood organs. I think this is the key to get healthcare interested. I think this is really what they would see first to bring a lot of economics back to them and so on. So I've stated when I was working in VGR, there is where we should start working. And the wonderful thing is that when you look at data points, we have them all when it comes to economics. Economics is something that we really can control and have a tremendous good quality of also. So that's interesting to think about. When we started AI Sweden, where I work now, it's a non-profit organization for the National of Sweden. When we opened it up, the headline on the newspaper was, "Now AI can tell you when you are going to die." How fun was that? And that's one of my problems, actually. How fun is it to know everything? Think about that. If you know that everything that would happen to you, what would you do? Would you be active to do something about it? Or should you just say, well, I don't have a chance? The other thing that we see that really functioning today is, and we have heard a lot of speech about this, to start to select things that we have about ourselves and aggregate them and see trends and so on. So I asked some of my students once, I said, what about if we in Sweden, the social welfare agency, put a sensor on you that could track every step you take and where you were and your temperature and heart rate and everything, just to know when they needed to support you? Would you accept that? And my students said, obviously, no way. And then I asked, would you buy this for 1,000 euro? Because this is exactly doing the same thing. And the worst is that whatever you have here or on your Fitbit or your Apple Watch, we don't even know what they are doing with, because we have given them consent. We are saying, yes, 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 give me the service. Yes, I need it now. Sell me to the devil. Yes, yes. And this is quite interesting. And I started, you probably all that have Facebook or Instagram, you saw now, well, we give you freedom to choose to have no advertising, but you have to pay for it. And then you start to read what they actually are going to do. So I haven't made a decision yet. I haven't made a decision yet. I don't know what to do about this. But another example is, think about it when I get another 10 years on my eyes, and I probably will have what we call it, cataract, yeah. And then suddenly I got a mail in my inbox from Google saying, hey, Lars, we have found the best practicer for your eye operation in Los Angeles. You have the time here next Friday. We have arranged for the flight with the flight company that you like to go with. We know that you would like to bring your wife with you every time you go. So we have a seat for her also. And we will put you in Marriott because we know you like to stay there. Just hit here. They will be able to do that. And in Sweden, when I go to the doctor and say, what about my cataract? They look at me and say, well, Lars, we will take care of that. Haven't you heard from us from 3 months from now, you have the right to choose somebody else. Do you see that? So in my world, I used to talk on my grandchildren saying, what will they say? Will they say, hey, I'm a Swede? Or will they say, no, I'm a Googler. I'm a Facebooker. I'm a Microsofter. I mean, is those the new tribes that is coming, actually? The one that control our assets, that know who we are and so on. And the worst thing is that sometimes you like advertisement and sometimes you hate it. So this is really a tricky path to go through. Then we come to this fantastic thing that is happening. It was, I think, was it 2012 or 11, one of the researchers come with this word to vector, okay? That said, okay, guys, do you know, now we can actually make sense of the speaking word by doing maths on it. We love it as engineers. And then we had the transformers coming, and was it 2017? I mean, these are the two things that really have changed the AI landscape. And now all of us was just overwhelmed in November last year when ChatGPT came. I remember still when I was by mistake sending a prompt in Swedish, and he answered me in Swedish. I was shocked over that. And you see the things that is happening here around now. You heard about this Monday, and we heard on the lecture yesterday also, on all the things that seems to be out there now in a tempo that we haven't seen before. As we discussed during dinner yesterday, we don't even have time to research on it. Our research is too old when it comes out because we need to reflect and think about things, and we don't have time for that. So marketing seems to be the new black, or have always been it. So think about how we will use this. I was quite impressed over the lecture that he talked about how he was using ChatGPT from the patient view. That the patient actually could start to ask questions and be more prepared and so on. So this is an interesting task. My son is a surgeon, and he told me once, you know, Papa, I got 15 minutes with each patient. I have 7.5 minutes to explain for the patient why Google is wrong. And then I examine the patient in 7.5 minutes, and he goes away, and then I Google. So you see the perspective of knowledge. The difficulties is how we actually find knowledge. And here I think we will see a gap between you younger people and we older ones, because we believe everything that is on the computer. I mean, whatever said there, we say, oh my God, it's written, it has to be true. So we accept it. You have a much better criticism for what's out there. So we haven't seen the end of this yet. I think we will have a lot of conferences and discussions about it. But it's like I said during your training there, I said, machine learning is the next Esperanto. It's just so fantastic when you think about it. Computers is the language of computers is the language that every citizen or every country can adapt to. So that's super interesting. Fraud detection. With everything that is good, it's something bad. And we have to realize that. And the worst thing is that the bad thing seems to be faster than the good things. And it might be that we don't need to evaluate bad things, because we evaluate them by just getting them out and see if they work. But this with fake news, everything, you heard the proud medical doctor from US yesterday say, well, I made a podcast by imitating my voice and my friend's voice, and I had ChatGPT to write the script, and it created it in 1 hour. And I was listening to this podcast this morning. It was only 6 minutes, but I think it was good. It was no problem with it. So think about how will this actually be? Who will you be talking with? As I stated before, have you ever thought about Alan Turing's test? Today, when you are on any website, it's actually the robot that asks us if you are a human. Explain it for me. And the latest with yesterday, I asked the questions about, because it showed us now that with glasses, you can see a lot of things. Excuse me, Georgie?
I love that. Sorry, Lars. The picture, the meme.
Yeah.
There's a robot sitting in front of computer,
Yeah.
and there is a capture on the screen, and robot is thinking, oh my God, this is so insulting.
Yeah. That's true. That's true. Think about fraud detections we talked about. Yeah, I think we can, this is also a very interesting thing for healthcare to react on. We have been having a lot of frauds in our economic systems, and the way we do it is that we hire controllers that goes through each one and so on. I think this could be more effective. Not perhaps saying that you have done wrong, but just saying it's something wrong here, and we can have a discussion about it. So what is our challenges and considerations? Yeah. We have all talked about privacy. I don't even know if that word exists today. Honestly, I don't know what privacy is. And why we just raise privacy when it comes to our sickness. Because is it something we talk about, so is it our sickness? So it seems to be very difficult to handle this. As we heard about Data Save Life, how patients are interested in sharing, caring, and do all these things, and how we are afraid of doing anything with those data and so on. And when you look at Europe now with the European Health Data Space and all the challenges we have there, when we heard Henrique talk about the global open EHR, you start to think about the privacy. And you start to think, as I've talked with Henrique before, and say, if we have an accessible open EHR, will the custom in each country have the right to look into if they should put you into the country or not? Those are really heavy things to come in the future. Systems interoperability. As you remember, Bernd Blubel showed us some new levels of interoperability, of knowledge and those things here, not only the technical and legal and those things here. I'm fascinating about interoperability. I used to say the word is actually explaining the things in between and who is interested in the things in between. And I have never met a system that doesn't have interoperability, as long as you are on that platform or on that system. So implementation challenges. I think it was a good lecture we had before here, where he talked about it, and his clue on this was actually to go economics. It seems that economics is a good thing to actually have things to happen there. I think we will strive a lot with this data security, the model bias, the cross systems interoperability, and so on. And my advice is, it doesn't need to fit everything. You have to find what you are actually looking for, the purpose of what you will do, the meaning of what you will do, and so on. And there you can find something about it. And I think for you as young engineers, it's so important to rethink those things every time you are doing something. And also to ask, as we heard earlier today, ask patients or civil and citizens, what is your opinion about this? What is your opinion about this? And it's hard today when we all would like to be individuals. We like to be big influencers and really be looked at and so on. I used to say the only way to know if you are unique is to compare you with everybody else, and you will often be very disappointed. We are acting and doing the things in the same way. So therefore, it will be great to start soon to talk about how we make decisions in healthcare for healthcare professionals. And I have invited some of guests here. Lenka will give you a short research thing first. Thank you for reminding me. And then we will start that. I had one last minute. You see, this image was done by Dalle. Huh? It's a good artist. And it's so interesting to see how we think about the future, because he creates the images from our input in a way. I'm on the other side. I look at the future like this. I mean, it's something between us. It's a reason we are humans, okay? And I think we should never forget that reason. We need to talk, and we need to touch each other and all these things here. So Lenka, please. Will you have this, or you take the mic?
I take the mic.
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay, good morning. Good noon, everybody. And I will start probably with one of the last sentences of Lars, that's interoperability, but interoperability between us humans. And I experience it quite a lot working with medical doctors. As we say, we engineers or IT people are not speaking the same language as medical doctors. We are different tribes. We are speaking different languages, and to be able to communicate among us, we need to find a common language. It's a little bit easier with young medical doctors who are also attached to keyboard, to mobile phones, so that they understand partially our language. But on the other hand, we have to learn the medical language to be able to understand what they are talking about when we discuss diseases, some knowledge from medicine and therapy of patients. So this is very important to realize that we need to communicate. There is something between us. That's the interoperability in the human sense. And of course, we need to have this close collaboration in research, in education, especially in the areas which have directly in the title digital health, biomedical informatics, biomedical engineering. And many of you are students of these areas, so you know that having a lecture by a medical doctor is usually something very different from listening to a lecture from an engineer. So this is what we need to realize also in our lives. And moreover, sometimes we also have to explain something to patients or to public. And again, we have to use other language, other words, other expressions than when we are talking among us engineers. We have to bring it to public. By the way, for this, for example, ChatGPT or other language models are quite nice because you put there your very special text and ask to transfer it into more light text to be understandable by public. In this case, it does really quite an excellent work. And of course, study programs, that's sometimes a tricky question for us as teachers when we have to develop something new. And it's always during my career, I was participating in designing several different types of curricula for students in really technical science, in biomedical engineering, biomedical informatics. Currently, we are preparing a new study in certification in metrology for healthcare, which is quite challenging because it concerns all these new regulations coming from European Union. And there are no professionals really who understand it really deeply and can be working with companies, with healthcare institutions and so on. So to find out how to do it, it's also quite important. For example, in biomedical informatics, when I try to find something what's quite valid and running, you may be surprised that the document by EMEA was developed in 2010. When you read it, what are the recommendations? No way, it's still valid, independent on the new technologies, on the new approaches. There are still the main points, and you will even find the interoperability. You will also find the ethical issues, data security, data privacy, everything is there. So just applied currently in a different way. So this is also something we have to have in mind. By the way, it's quite important if we follow these guidelines across Europe, because then it's easier also for students to go for ERASMUS exchange, because it's easier to recognize passing the courses abroad. research. It's also a key issue in academic institutions. And for us, it's always a great pleasure to have students as team members in research, because we learn something from you, you learn something from us, and especially what we expect from young generation are new creative ideas, because we are there in a long time and sometimes it's the professional blindness. So when we can bring you on board, it's for us something new. And of course, then when we can organize together with other colleagues such intensive courses or summer schools, it's again great fun, I would say, for everybody, and also great possibility to meet people from other countries and to develop your own social networks, which is very important when you know people not only from videos, from social networks, but personally. And then in the future, when you meet again, you can do something together, which is also very important. Oh, it was too fast. So, and last but not least from my side is a comment on practical tasks and cooperation in practice. Again, in some cases, for students, it's easier, it's sometimes mandatory to pass internship abroad. In our case, for example, it is not mandatory, it is recommended, and it also brings additional value to your professional experience also during the study. And of course, once you are in research or working in a medical institution, it's great to have experience from other institutions abroad. You can see how they are working, how they are thinking, how they are discussing the problems. And of course, working on a joint, larger international projects have additional value, not only for the research itself, but again, on this social level, when you can exchange ideas and also sometimes enrich each other, because each country has something a little bit different, not only on these regulations, but also on the history, culture, which is reflected also in the way we are thinking about the problems, we are trying to solve them. So all these can be attributes for a more intensive collaboration. And I give again over to Lars, or should I comment it? Yeah, you can.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Lenka. Now we will have a panel. Normally, I don't really like panels. I used to say, let's have a beer together and talk. Because, you know, it's when you have a beer together and talk with someone, you can actually change your opinion. Okay? Because it's that way, I think we make a lot of progress by just talking with each other. I will have some time now with the panel, but please don't forget your questions to us and the rest of the panel. And for the panel, I would like to say welcome to Michelle, Josef, and Tino. I'm Swedish, so I don't have the titles and everything there. But you're from Barcelona Tech, all of you. And you also have the presidency of EU at this time, yeah. I had a lot of contact because, you know, we were in Sweden last time and now we went over there. Nothing happened in Sweden, so we hope that something will happen with you. And I was thinking like this. I listened to you yesterday, Michelle, and you were quite eager to have us to understand something about tools and how tools could support us. Yeah, we will give it to her now. I had double voices. But please start first with a short presentation of yourself, your research, and any reflections you would like to do.
Okay, well, all this new world of AI and generative AI that is impacting a lot about these days. But first we have, of course, we have a history. And so in the past years, I've been collaborating in the university and doing my research and how I could create, you can call tools or anything that support how we work collectively to create new things that make sense to the society and go one step beyond of the traditional solutions that we have and appears like somewhat obvious. So more or less discussing how we get these tools should make us humans more creative and go to a next level. And it's interesting because during my research, well, we discussed a lot of the students that were in the class. This changed so much. So the idea of tools and things. So right now, what I got of all this situation is two things that is important that I believe and that I'm researching in an unstructured way, more or less right now. It's we need to work together. We need to have collective intelligence. Wow. Doesn't matter. And it is more than working as a group, as I said in the session, is really working, getting advantage of the connections between people, and now implementing and using technology as one part or helping us with this collective intelligence. It's just one element more. It's not just something that is going to suppress anything that we're doing, or they're just going to enhance our capability to communicate. For example, we have more and more time working with people all over the world and with different cultures. And this is I think what I like about researching about tools is how we can enhance ourselves and the group in the possibilities.
Wonderful. I was just taking notes of all the web places where you had the tools and so on. And I think, do you think it's a problem for us to understand how to use the tools?
Yes.
I know a hammer, I know, but
yeah, and it's so many, right? I was discussing this yesterday with Maria when we were having a coffee, and I'm very comfortable learning new tools. So I never had so many problems, but this week or this month, I was like overwhelmed. Like even me, that I like to research new things and test new things, it's too many. So we need to have an abstraction and really understand what we really need and what is just noise in the ecosystem.
I would like to address Joseph here. I had the opportunity to listen to you yesterday, and I was impressed over your way of framing collective intelligence. So one of the things I've been thinking of, do we make decisions by our own, or do we make decisions together with others? You don't need to answer the question first. You can talk a little about your research and so on.
I prefer to save this for the. It's working. Yes, I prefer to save this for the debate.
Yeah.
Okay. Michelle was working about collective intelligence already. Okay, and this is a huge area. I would like to add another intelligence, which is a feature intelligence. Okay, so if we think in terms of feature, okay, let me put three words. One is apprehension, fear. So we feel the feature like, so we tend to think in the last 10 years, and this is one thing, but we think in the next 10 years, it looks like the previous 10 was so short, and you have the knowledge, but the next 10, which is exactly the same dimension, it's something completely, it's something completely different. So the first word is this kind of fear. The second word is that we don't have culture about the future. We have been educated about the past. We had history classes, but we never had in the curriculum something about the future. Okay? And then the third word is not relevance. So we are so focused in the present. So we think that the present is so important. We live in the present, then the future is something less relevant. Let's think about this lack of future intelligence to see how we manage something. We are speaking about the future all the time here, but without a culture about the future, without intelligence about the future. And then just to add other three elements to think in terms of the future. Future is related with the desire. Okay, so we need to want the future. If we don't want the future is not going to arrive, never. Okay. Second thing is serendipity. So you need to be in the right place, in the right moment, and have the right elements to take profit of the future. Okay. And finally, the third element are the facts. So, and we all the times, whereas this conference is about facts, but facts is just one element of the future. So the tools we have, the knowledge we have, all these are facts, but without the desire and without the serendipity, future is not coming. So just to add something maybe more practical to our focus here, I would say that connecting with what Lenka said, we need to give skills and knowledge to health professionals. And I think that's key. We have been working in helping health professionals to work with innovation during the last 10 years. And I think that we get some experience in doing that. And finally, the conclusion is that this is very difficult. You, Lars, said at the beginning that the approach of an engineer and the approach of a doctor are very different, or a health professional, and that's true, okay? And then you, Lenka, insisted in the fact that we need to find a kind of language, a kind of space where we meet, okay? Well, that's, I think, the most difficult part, and we are not focusing on this.
Great. A short remark, do you think that, how do you bring more skills to already skilled persons? Isn't that also something that is, I mean, I agree on all the things you say, and I've been training a lot of engineers to bring them to healthcare to see there and so on, but it's really, on the other side, we have a lot of doctors that is doing amazing things from an engineering point of view, and nurses also.
At the beginning, well, some years, well, maybe 15 years ago, when I was an engineer, so I began to interact with doctors. I was impressed, okay, because I met people with a great knowledge. So for me, many of the things that health professionals do is like miracles. Okay, I put this in this area of knowledge. But they are absolutely unable to do very simple things related with management, with organization, with structuring the facts, the process. But they are the owners of the health system. So all the managers in hospitals are doctors, are people that basically they have been educated in a particular way. Okay, then probably they learn how to manage an hospital, because it's just, if you have the opportunity and you have basic training and knowledge, you will be able to learn about how to manage the hospital. But this is very expensive. Okay, it's not the best. So I think that we need to connect in some way this idea of future intelligence with collective intelligence. Okay.
Interesting. Perfect. I think we should play in Timo. Hello, Timo. We never really met. So just on LinkedIn, I guess. Yeah. And so I would like to hear a little bit more about your research and so on, and some of your reflections during what you've heard.
So first I introduce myself. I arrived late yesterday, so I missed the sessions and the dinner, but I didn't miss the beer. But I didn't change my mind though,
no,
because we only had one.
Okay.
I used to change my mind when I have more than one.
Okay.
You arrived to the last year.
So my name is Tino Marti. My background is health economics. And I'm here actually today with 3 hats. One hat is part of the team of UPC in this work that we are doing from years already on collective intelligence, future intelligence, and nowadays adding artificial intelligence. But I'm also bringing here 2 other hats, because the way we met with Georgie was in the context of the presentation of the World Health Organization report on digital health in Portugal recently, and the ones that was presented partially by Stefan Schuck. And we entered into contact because I'm collaborating with the World Health Organization Office on quality of care. And so this brings here my healthcare expertise, because I've been healthcare manager for many years, and now I'm more on technical matters, health policy, health organization with the World Health Organization. And the third hat, which is not, which is important, is that I'm collaborating with a Belgian association that is called the European Health Telematics Association, that is working on digital health in innovation projects, easy funded. And we are organizing, for instance, now the symposium, and one of the sessions will be AI in healthcare. So with these 3 hats, I would like, and I don't know how do you would like to continue the panel, but I would like to pick part of your presentation and part of their remarks in exploring the future of AI in terms of winners and losers, because I would like to make a remark, but I would like to hear from you all, I mean also the participants, which you think are the winners and losers of AI in the future, if we simplify the map with 3 key stakeholders in the healthcare domain: patients, caregivers, providers, and payers. Who of these 3 you think is going to win and who is going to lose? Or everyone is going to win, or we can rank this a little bit. Do you mind if I ask this question to everyone, just raising hands?
I think it's a wonderful question. I know my answer.
So I'm asking now first, out of these 3, patients, healthcare professionals, and payers, who do you think will be the losers? Let's go to the hard part. Who will be
We have a voting now, yeah? So up with the hand for, number 1 was patients. Will they be the
professionals?
Will they be the winner or loser? We ask for winner.
The losers. Who do you think will lose more by a large-scale implementation of AI in our health systems in next, let's put 10 years, because it takes a long time to implement. It won't happen in 2 years. So who thinks patients will lose the most? Who thinks healthcare professionals? Raise hands, healthcare professionals. And who thinks payers?
What did you say?
It's interesting. It's pretty divided. It's pretty divided. I would summarize that most of you said healthcare professionals, patients second, payers second, and patients the less. So it looks like the winners of this game will be patients, because we will have options to personalize care, to make it more proactive, to do much more prevention. And this is exactly the message that I would like to convey from my point of view, that I think completely the opposite. Patients will be lose the most.
I think so.
And I will give my reason. I think with all this technology, we are going to over-medicalize our system. And when you over-medicalize, who is going to suffer is those that have to go through treatments that were not necessary. While healthcare professionals that are threatened by this technology because they are thinking that this will substitute them, I don't think so. First, we are facing, and it was highlighted several times, a shortage of health professionals. So AI actually is the solution for the shortage. And you can see that all these tools are always support for the decisions, clinical decision support system. It's not that the technology is making the decision. If you leave the technology making the decision, then the multiplication of test, diagnosis, treatment will expand. And if we have the resources, which I don't think we'll have, to cover this multiplication, who will suffer is patient. So this is my reflection. I would like it to do it this way but open to listen other views. I'm open to change my mind.
I like this guy. I think we need some hands is coming up here. Norway, we have a runner.
Okay, so from my perspective, when you say losers, I decided to interpret that as a negative value in terms of discomfort or in practicalities or also in economical loss without considering positive factors. And so from that perspective, I think practitioners will be the losers in terms of the ones having to adapt the most in a changing business, and also the ones having to deal with stuff with like data overload and information overload. Now, I think towards the question of who will lose and whether patients will lose, I think it's very relevant to consider how we handle it, because if it's handled with grace, best word I can think. Like if you make sure the models that do the prediction, the automation are fine-tuned for their purpose, like for instance, considering things like precision recall and whether, and actually considering whether over-treating is more dangerous than not treating, in terms of when developing the tools themselves, and also if we can avoid over commoditization, because I think we need, like, in order to make the innovation available, I think maybe the market needs to open a bit, but that might have a tendency to lead to over commoditization. So if we can avoid those, like make the tools as specified as we need to, and also regulate in a way where the technology is available to everyone, then I definitely think that patients can be the definite winners in this endeavor. So those are my perspectives.
Great. Any comments on that, or?
Very shortly.
Sure.
Because I really like your point that who is officially winning and who is in fact winning. So I think officially, it's right that health professionals will be the losers officially, but in fact, if we go through this over medicalization, then we'll be patients. So I like this twist in the view.
But maybe we need to also consider the fact that AI is not the only technology evolving. There are many other technologies evolving in parallel. So we will see a huge development in robotics, okay? And at the same time, in the production of treatments, new treatments, biochemistry. So, you know, there are many fields that are going in the same way, at the same direction. So I'm going to change my vote. So I said that sorry, Lenka, because we were in the same team, saying that payers would lose more. But I think that we will maybe, I introduce another, more noise. So maybe some patients, some practitioners, some professionals, and some payers will lose, and some others will win.
Good. I was thinking, Timo, I'm also interested in economics here. How much can we allow healthcare to cost? Will this be a problem for us? You know, I talked about precision medicine, where a treatment can cost 25 million euro, perhaps now 2.5 million euros and so on. Any reflections on what we see there?
We are actually facing already this challenge, in the sense that these new treatments that are so costly, if we have to cover them by the public system, there are methodologies from an health economics perspective. Justus was mentioning cost-benefit analysis, cost-utility analysis, cost-effectiveness analysis. There is a methodology, the cost-utility analysis, that calculates how much it costs 1 year of life in full quality. It's called quality-adjusted life years. And there is a sort of, let's say, standard globally that it varies from country to country, but the amount of money rounds 50,000 euros for 1 year of full quality. So this is a threshold to make decisions. So whatever is the innovation that we bring to the market, if we do this economic evaluation and we reach the value of how much it costs a quality gain by this treatment, if it's below this threshold, 50,000, is acceptable by the system, whatever it is the system, national health system funded by taxes, or a social health insurance funded by insurance premiums. If it's below, accepted. If it's over, then there is an issue. The problem is when a treatment is life-saving and it's over 50,000, here there's a huge ethical issue, because officially we have to say no, it's not covered by the system, but we are talking about lives, not quality of life. So, and then there is another reflection in terms who's going to pay the bill, because current systems are already, I think, at the top, unless political will and citizens will say, okay, we prefer that our taxes go to healthcare instead to other sectors. So we will have to make decisions in terms of priority, and we need the instruments to make these decisions. We have the instruments, and we have to combine this with the political will and citizens' opinion, which will be voting. They will vote to those that are in covering this.
Good. Lenka, please.
I have a reflection on different aspects of who will be the winner and loser. In case it is well defined, well formulated, I think that finally all three actors can be winners. Let me give an example on prevention, because I think that still prevention is not too much stressed in any country. And if there are good preventive measures, if patients are motivated to go for prevention, then even the final cost of the treatment can be lowered, because the diseases will be found sooner than if there are already symptoms and it's maybe the last stage of cancer, where we know that the treatment is very, very expensive. The same is for different, even the small diseases. Once I stay with influenza a few days at home, it means nothing. Once I develop pneumonia out of it, it's more costly. So these are just the basic examples where we can win. And when that's the issue of insurance companies, because till now, mostly they just promote very simple preventive measures supporting some small activities, but not doing also supporting proper education of the public. What are the healthy measures? And so they still have to pay quite a lot because of the expensive treatment. The argument quite frequently, at least in my country, is show us the economy of these broad preventive measures, and then we decide whether we will support them or not. How you can prove the economy if you do not have any project or any other source of money to run the large-scale study to prove that it's worth doing? So it's always balanced. It's a lot of negotiation. Finally, all participants can win. And if the doctors can use all these nice tools we were talking about, they will have enough data for their better decision making about each individual patient. And in that case, even the doctors will be winners, because then the patient will believe more in that doctor.
Super interesting.
It's interesting because I didn't answer, because I don't know the answer. I cannot answer right now. I think, as we discussed it here, it's just one technology and can apply. I don't know if it's because we talk a lot about future studies and things, and our brain is already like, this is one scenario, this is another scenario, this is another. It's just a technology. The thing is how we are going to apply this, and how the different cultures and different systems we are going to apply it. And commenting on your saying, for example, we are inside a project that's exactly for that, using AI to help identify and prevent with healthy habits a population. Because now in the hands of all the companies, many American companies that control everything that we are, our habits, and we pay to give them. But our systems are exploiting and are not using to improve our systems. But how you prove it that is going to work? Because you never done it before. So I think it's more a spectrum of how we are going to apply and can have so many results of this equation. We don't have all the elements to get to a final result.
Timo, you had a...
Just briefly, I agree. I think there is room for everyone to win a little bit. My concern was more in terms of when we talk about prevention, we can prevent risk factors. We can make like blood tests, see if you have cholesterol or they can check your hypertension, and they can suggest some sort of health promotion activities to improve your health. This is fine, perfect. And if AI can help to improve that way, good. The problem is when we go to preventive activities like cancer screenings, where there are a lot of positive false results that leads you to a treatment that was not necessary. And of course, AI can improve the accuracy for this positive, but at the same time, I don't know if I catch well the message from, I think it was Miklos was showing these tomographies. Of course, the capacity of AI to identify things that the human, the clinical view cannot identify will lead to more cases that have not manifested. So, and here is where I'm a bit concerned from a public health perspective, not from a payer perspective. I'm not worried too much that this will cost more to the system. The system will have to decide. But I'm worried about people that will have to go through, and this is happening without AI, they will have to go through treatments that were unnecessary. This is my...
Good. And the tricky thing is that we don't know if it's necessary until afterwards.
More noise.
Please, I like noise.
Tino, do you think that, well, let's put a hypothesis first. The hypothesis is that from the point of view of an engineer or an engineer and economist, let's say that the business model of the healthcare system is really, well, can be improved greatly. Okay, let's put this hypothesis. Do you think, well, anyone think that in the next 10 years, because all this knowledge that we can get from artificial intelligence, from the behavior of people, can change or can impact the business model of the health system? Let me add something to the initial hypothesis, okay? It is said that, I don't know, in the literature is said that half of the treatments are not useful, okay, for any reasons. I don't know, part of the half of the decisions made by health professionals have a considerable degree of mistake. Okay, so from the industry or even the service point of view, this is really an area where improvements can be huge. Do you think that in the next 10 years this can change?
Good point. This internally at Barcelona Tech, yes, so you know. Timo, would you like to?
In fact, I have not understood well the question, because by business model, you mean how services are organized? Is the question that all these technologies will lead to better organization?
Business model is, sorry, I clarify. I mean business model in the classical sense, meaning you have a value in the center, okay? You have a result in the right, and resources in the left, and organization and processes and so on, okay? And channels of distribution to arrive to the people. And someone is paying for that, okay? That's the simple business model. So my question is, in the health system is really poor in these terms compared with any other area in the world. And if we consider that health system can be in many countries more than 10% of the money, okay? So in the next 10 years, this can really change, because even, I don't know, 10% of change in this is a lot. It's, you know.
Understood like this, finally, yes, this will change. The question is, it will change for better or it will change for worse? This is what I'm not that sure. In some cases will be for better. In some cases, the over medicalization, I think, will be for worse. But the opportunity to alter the status quo of the healthcare system will happen, not only because of AI, but all the other emerging technologies and also other socio-economic factors like aging or lack of resources. If I raise hand.
We take it in the mic, so. He's a Spanish guy in Luleå, so.
Hello. So I have a question. Given the accuracy of the latest models that there are out there already, what leads you to still think that there are going to be so many false positives, so that it can also be a concern about the over medicalization, and especially from now to 10 years, knowing that AI is evolving so quickly? We already have ResNet, for example, that gives a huge accuracy in diagnosis for images and that kind of stuff, like higher than 98% in most of the cases. And that's already much higher than what we are getting with doctors. So why, if we are in fact decreasing the problem of over medicalization, why is it still a concern?
Let's clarify what I said. We can improve the accuracy, so it will be less false positives. Fine. But we will increase the accuracy and we detect more true positives. Fine. You would say, okay, if we find more true positive, this will be better for all. Okay, let's give concrete examples. We are both males. We risk to have prostate cancer. The way to look at this is through the PCA. We do the PCA, and the detection will be perfect. Let's say 100% accuracy if it's plus with the AI support. It means that we will be detected with prostate cancer, and we will have to go through the cancer treatment, which is not nice. More than 40% of positive prostate cancer that don't develop cancer, and you die for other reasons, but not because of this cancer. So if we introduce the culture or screening, testing, super accuracy, we will detect everything. If we take all of our images, even if it's for another reason, through the system, we start to detect many things. What the system will do, and now system, I'm here depersonalizing the system. What the health system will do, they have to act defensively. If they have detected something in the image, they have to act upon. So this is my concern. If we are increasing this accuracy for screenings, we will start treating everyone as a patient, because we will detect. If we do 100% scan now of our body, we will detect issues. So you will be immediately admitted to a process that you would avoid because you have not developed any symptoms. So this is my major concern.
I think you are quite into that. I will just give a remark there. I think that's why I talked about that it might be this big change is that with all the data, we understand what is normal. That we can see that that the PSA could vary in this area and so on. Because it's really interesting questions. And I used to say, if you think you are healthy, come to us and we will prove that you are wrong.
One remark to your last sentence, there is no healthy person,
No.
There is only badly diagnosed patient.
Exactly.
But I will give you the counter example because we see in many countries, unfortunately, an epidemic of overweight and obesity, where actually the basic treatment is relatively simple and can reduce the future costs for treatment once people return to, let's say, normal weight, because they mostly develop diabetes and some additional diseases over it. So this is something where the screening would or can work quite efficiently.
What is the treatment for obesity?
Well, it takes some time. It's education. It's
not what the business model is thinking.
Well, okay. I am not thinking now as a business model. I am thinking as an engineer what we can do for that, and starting from kids, from the families, and so on. Of course, it's easier for people just a little bit overweight, but not really obese. But the consequence is that we reduce also the medication, and maybe some consequences of other diseases. But I don't want to disturb and give over.
I gave you a quick answer on what we are doing for obesities. We are using diabetes medicine. So the people with diabetes don't get their medicine because I would like to lose some kilos. Norway, please.
Yeah, so this is about over-medicalization topic again. I think the introduction of AI can be seen as a major leap in our statistical capabilities for statistical analysis, right? So that's a very intuitive way to look at it, and it's basically what it is. It's just more complex relations now than it was before. So I'm wondering whether you think the sweet spot for statistical capabilities is somewhere between where we were before the introduction of AI and where we are as a consequence of the introduction of AI, or if we pass that sweet spot for statistical capability analysis already before the introduction of AI.
I would like to answer in a good way. This is a statistics person. He goes like this. Oh my God, what I said it would happen. Oh, there's an outlier. We forget him. And I goes forward saying, oh, interesting, an outlier. I will bring him with me to see if it comes another one up. You see, so, and the tricky question with yours there is, why do we think will AI create better quality for data? Who has the mic?
I do.
Who would like to answer?
Okay, so if AI will create better quality data, I think not really, not the raw data, not the base data. It might introduce new ways of collecting data and specifically aggregating the data in useful manners and make it more available to us. And also For like, okay, in statistics, you go backwards and look at everything else. But with AI, you do the same thing. And also with statistics, you can, while you're going backwards, you can try to make a prediction that I see a lot of chairs. I think there's a chair behind me. And that's basically what you're doing with AI too, because you're seeing all the examples and making predictions about the future. And I think the introduction of AI is majorly a change in our ability to make those predictions accurately. And we can also tune it, because I think the chairs in front of me are more important. So therefore, I focus on only making predictions when I have about chairs in front of me and not the ones behind me. So I'm just wondering if I'm a little bit curious about your answer to the question about the sweet spot for for statistical analysis and where that is, because yeah.
Never argue with the engineer.
If I have understood well, I think all the advances that will be brought by increased capacity of analyzing massive amounts of data in real time are welcome, and it will improve many things. Many problems that are complex by their own, that are wicked problems, with the capacity of analyzing this information so quickly, or with methodologies that what Miklos was showing on social network analysis applied to elements of health service organization, will bring new insights that will help to improve health. It will help to improve health services and the way we are organized. My concern is not to say, be careful with AI, it will bring problems, let's stop AI. I'm not on this line. I think we have to exploit what AI can bring, but we have to be careful to don't fall into the trap of the technology attraction and then start to check everything, which is, if I put it in a simple way, there are like two traditions in healthcare. One tradition that is more less test and do, and one tradition that is more on public health. Let's don't intervene until there is clear symptoms. So I think AI at the hand of everyone can be really dangerous, in the sense like happened with internet, actually, with Google. People started to Google their symptoms and reading what can happen, and then you start to panic. And you go to the doctor because you read the Google result. So imagine this amplified by AI. So this is my concern. And if these AI tools, as Lars was mentioning, is not only used by the patient, but is used by the system to identify the problems, it will lead to more treatment. So this is my concern, but fully open for advances in this sense. There's a question over there.
Please.
Thank you on the comments. A quick question. For me, it's really, I would say, at this point, AI is useless if we don't have human labor. Because as a nurse, I come to my shift and I have, let's say, normally 3 to 4 assistants. And if I'm able to use AI to predict, I can tell at least 3 of my assistants who come to work 5 days a month because of either sickness or ability of the employer to find workers. What's the point of using all this prediction for treatment, yet I can't have full capacity of workers at my workplace, or let's say at the hospital, or let's say as a doctor, you have your secretary or some healthcare professionals. And with predictions, you can tell, especially in Germany, most health sector, you can see during the Corona period, there are no workers in Germany. Look at England, at the National Health Service. There are no workers everywhere. People are trying to import workers from Mexico or from Philippines. What's the point of all this, all the predictions and data collection when we can't have full capacity of treatment?
You ruined the day. Please.
it's a very interesting question, at least for us, is we are working with nurses right now in a project, very practical. And I remember when it started and we started discovering the problem, they say, oh no, I have more or less 1,500 persons that I should be taking care of their health. Well, they're not patients, but it's supposed to give some health style support to improve the health, and it's impossible. It's true what you said, but I think there is the AI. There is one part is the predictive that we are discussing a lot here, and we are seeing a lot of projects. But there is another one that I think that's the one that really changed or took to our attention this year. That is the capability to communicate. Why this was so different this year? I was questioning when we were discussing why AI everyone is talking about AI. Last year, AI already existed, and this group would be talking about AI probably, but the population was not that. And what changed is like if we put usability to help communicate with these other persons that are not integrated in the system. So it's more than just create a tool to predict or a tool to communicate. What we try to explain in our session was like, we need to think about a system that will use a lot of different capabilities of the AI to help professionals like nurses that need to have human touch to treat their patients, and the other things that we could improve in that sense. So I try to take a little bit of the point of only the prediction or the diagnosis, like very functional.
We have a comment, and
We have two comments.
then we.
So in relation to that same question, in an ideal situation, we would have all these screening systems and we would have enough people to actually take care of the patients. Right now, what happens, as he said, is that there are a lot of screening systems and like we have a lot of predictions, but there are not enough workers that take care of that people. Ideally, having all these systems that allow us to take care of more people will also increase the amount of people that can be employed. I think that that's a shift that should be made, right? But in that scenario, how do you think the shift is going to happen? Because this starts from education. Not a lot of people want to get involved in studying for being a doctor or for being a nurse nowadays, because they know that it's not easy to get a job afterwards. There are many people who don't get jobs if they study that. So is this shift going to mean a third winter AI, as we were talking about the presentation? Like, is this going to be a break on the development of AI because of the lack of the resources, even though we have the knowledge?
Interesting. Who would like to try to answer that, or should we take the next comment first? The next comment?
The next comment.
That will be, and then we will answer, and then we will end this.
I'm speaking from a realistic point of view because as a nurse, I live this every day. And if I get to, let's say, interact with, let's say, also my assistants, or let's say even with the doctors, one of the problems they tell me is that, yes, let's say, for example, Germany is setting sort of lead to set up digital health and also lead in Europe. A doctor tells me he has a problem to set up a system. The first 2 hours he comes to the office, right? So you have to deal with the system issues. We have system issues in place. And then in the morning, you have your shift and the person comes, at 6 you have a call and your assistant tells you, hey, sorry, I can't make it to work today. And you have about, let's give an example. A typical nursing home, one floor has a capacity of about 30 to 40 patients, right? So one nurse is supposed to be able to take care of at least 13 people. And let's say you're only 2 in a shift. Even with AI, I don't think you can't solve any problem if at the basic level you have no capacity of human being. Yeah. So even if we put systems in place, and let's say we have better systems in place, what's the point of having AI? And if I come to work, I'm one person as a nurse, I'm supposed to serve 40 people. The system will work, right? But me and the human capacity, I don't have energy. The more patients I carry, my back aches, I'm back to being sick. So from the innovation and let's say a technological aspect, it's okay, right? But then the human aspect where we want to have systems that function, we want to have structures that function, we want to have, let's say, renewable energy, all these kind of things. At the end of it all, it serves no purpose if we don't have people. And the patient expects, yes, I pay my insurance, so I'm entitled to healthcare. As a German, let's say, working in Germany, you pay part of your Renteversicherung, that's the pension. You also have the Pflegeversicherung, which is the care insurance. I am entitled to care once I get old. But if I don't have, let's say, in the next 10 years, 20 years, I don't have workers, and 10 years we have AI, the best functioning prediction systems of diseases and all that, what's the point if I can't get a worker? Yeah. So I don't know how we can solve that.
We won't solve it today, immediately, just before lunch.
I don't
thank you for your
today.
reflection. I will give an answer here and we will round this up. I think both of you point of those things that we are actually seeing now, the changing in workers around the world. And I think that a lot of existing job will disappear and a lot of new job will come to us. And I have a strong feeling myself that working with people to people will be something that will increase for the future. So I'm not really always accepting the numbers, the lack of nurses and doctors that everyone prescribed that we will have. And I think that we already today see that elderly people are healthier. So it seems that we continue to be healthier for a longer time, and we are sicker, very sick at a shorter time. And obviously it's a challenge. But with that said, I mean, we could have been drinking beer and discussing for the rest of the day here. We have to end this panel. I would say thank you very much for you that give us your insights. And we will all now go to lunch, and then we have to be at the Pfarrkirchen City Hall